In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
Wake up, America. I think I got something to say to you. I say this every week. I love the United States of America, and I want you to love the United States of America too. Office Hours with Dr. A is not a safe space, so enter at your own risk. You will be exposed to the truth, and I will endure the consequences. Again, rest assured, I will not try to put my brain into your head. I will, however, motivate you to think and to use the analytical part of your brain that very few people want to use because it requires actual effort, it requires actual work.
You've reached the office of Dr. Randy Arrington. Please have a seat, and the doctor will be with you in just a moment.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Office Hours with Dr. A. On the line with me, as always, is Lou Esposito. She is the producer, my sidekick, and as you know, I've given her the honorary tactical call sign of Wench because she doesn't take crap from anybody. She's the dread pirate Wench. Are you there, Lou?
I'm here. Am I supposed to be producing? Oh, dear. Where's my soundboard?
Oh, my
yeah,
goodness. Okay.
I'm producing. Hi, Dr. A.
Hey, you know what? Listening to that opening monologue, entry on the commercials there, I got 800-696-1030 stuck in my brain now. And I got to repeat that number like a dozen times. So I guess that's the whole purpose of that. Hey, listen, we are in a series here, which we should wrap up this particular show, talking about the presidency and also those that want to be aspire to be the president, talking about the presidency as a spectacle. And it's a very interesting analytical way to look at what is happening with the occupant in the White House or people that desire to live there. Again, to reiterate from last week, the presidential spectacle was first popularized by a PhD out of SUNY, State University of New York, Bruce Miroff. And let's kind of like dive back into this, Lou, if you're ready, and we'll get her going here and refresh people's memory and then move on with some more analysis.
We almost made it to jelly beans.
Okay, well, I like that. The spectacle, as you know, is a kind of a symbolic event, an event in which particular details stand for deeper meanings, broader meanings. And again, what differentiates a spectacle from other forms of symbolic events is indeed the centrality of the character and the centrality of the action that is presented. A spectacle presents intriguing characters, often dominating characters, not in a static pose, but through their actions. And these actions are what establish their identities with the public. A spectacle implies a clear division between the audience or the actors and the spectators. The actors being the politicians, the president, and the would-be presidents, and those members of the audience, what I call the spectators. The clear division is a narrowness of focus and a limited set of, how should I put this, appropriate responses. In other words, the responses from the public are manipulated and manufactured, Lou. In other words, what there is for us to see as members of the audience, as the spectators, is unambiguously exhibited for us. And there is a clear line, a clear distinction between the roles of those performers, the politicians, and the audience. Additionally, a spectacle does not permit the audience to interrupt. A spectacle does not permit the audience to redirect the intended meaning. A spectacle, therefore, is not designed for mass participation, Lou. It is not a democratic event. It is totalitarian in nature. Now, perhaps the most distinctive characteristic of a spectacle is that those actions, the actions that constitute it, are meaningful, not for what they achieve, but for what they signify. That being the case, actions in a spectacle are gestures rather than means to an end.
You mean that they're gestures, meaning that they're not really sincere?
They could be sincere or they could be not sincere. I guess that would depend on your perspective from which you judge sincerity. I mean, if Barack Obama pins a Medal of Honor on a young corporal in the White House, you think that knucklehead is sincere about doing that? No. You and I had this conversation offline. You commented, I told you I don't think he's an American. He's right now in Paris at the global warming expose of the world's leaders. They're trying to cobble together some plan to save the world from global warming and CO2 emissions, man-made global warming. He does nothing, Lou, but trash the United States of America. I don't think he's ever said anything nice about the United States. He's not an American. Your comment about that was what, the last time we talked about this?
My comment about him not being American? That it's a state of mind. It's not about where you're born. It's never been about where you're born. It's a state of mind. It always has been.
Exactly.
And he doesn't have it.
Attitude, a state of mind. He doesn't have that.
He doesn't have it. No.
So he could be very sincere about wanting to turn this country to communist, Marxist communism. He could be very sincere about telling us that the market economy is great and we need to get Obamacare in there and this, that, and the other. He doesn't. Obamacare was never about covering people that aren't covered now, in the medical industry. It's about power and control over human behavior. It's about despotism and him desiring to be a despot, a tyrannical leader, totalitarian. That's what it's about. So the way you judge Obama, folks, and I've mentioned this many times, is, yes, historical context or political context, a better way to do it. Anytime he or Pelosi or Reid or any of these knuckleheads say anything, you have to judge what they're saying based on the current political context, the historical context within which they are spouting off. And so if you want the country to go socialist, then you like what he says. He is sincere. If you want the country to remain a capitalist nation and adhere to those traditional founding father values and principles that we were founded on, and he says that he believes in the Constitution, he's not sincere. He's a liar.
Right. And for instance, you use the Obamacare example. If he says we must pass this program, Obamacare, he's sincere. If he says it's going to help millions of Americans, he might be sincere. If he says I'm doing it to help you, he's probably not sincere.
It's going to lower your rates by $2,500 per family.
Yeah, if he ever believed that.
If you like your doctor, Lou, you and your husband can keep your doctor. He said that 24 times. He was lying.
Yeah.
He knew he was lying.
It's funny how they make it hard to prove.
But if you believe what he's telling you and you want to keep your doctor or you want medical coverage because you don't have it, you believe he's sincere, that he cares about you. He doesn't care about you. Totalitarian dictators don't care about you. They care about themselves and their power.
Another reason that's an interesting example is because it was all spectacle. And the climate change summit is all spectacle.
It's all a spectacle. I've got that at the end. When we were talking offline, you don't know this, but I can multitask. While we were talking offline about what you and I are going to discuss on your wonderful show on Thursday night, I was typing in at the end of my script here another Obama and another Clinton spectacle, which I think you will like when we get to it. But what is important in a spectacle is that these gestures be understandable and impressive to the audience, to us, the members of the audience who are the spectators. Now, when we started this last week, as a good analogy to look at this whole phenomenon of the spectacle. Okay, so again, what is important is that these gestures in a spectacle be understandable and impressive to the audience, to us, the spectators. And again, as a good analogy, let's compare a professional wrestling event with a boxing match. Now, I'm not talking about the wrestling that they do in high schools or in the Olympics. I'm talking about WWE type wrestling in the professional wrestling that you watch on Channel 98. Like, Lou watches professional wrestling, as does JD and Stacy. Or they go to those big events that are fun to go to. Now, boxing is a form of competition. It's a contest of skill in a situation of uncertainty. In boxing, naturally, what matters is the outcome, because this is in doubt. But I hate to burst your bubble, in professional wrestling, the outcome is preordained. Again, those of you that watch professional wrestling on Channel 98 or actually go to the WWE pro wrestling events at major sports venues may not be aware of this, but the outcome is fixed from the get-go. And I'm sorry to burst your bubble. It is a rigged contest. What matters, that be the case, what matters in professional wrestling are the gestures made during the match. The body language by performers portraying distinctive characters that carry signals with moral significance. In a typical wrestling match, Lou, an evil character will threaten the good guy character, knocks him to the canvas, abuses that wrestler with dirty tricks, but then ultimately loses the bout when that good guy character rises up from the mat to exact a just revenge in front of the audience. Now, it may seem a bit odd to approach the presidency through an analogy with boxing and wrestling, but please indulge me, radio listening audience and students, please indulge Dr. Ray for a moment. Much of what presidents do is analogous indeed to what boxers do. They engage in contests of power, contests of policy with other political actors inside the Beltway. I call them Beltway bandits. Contests in which the outcome is uncertain. However, a growing amount of presidential activity is tantamount to pro wrestling. Basically, the contemporary presidency is presented by the White House, and the media for that matter, as a series of spectacles in which a larger-than-life main character and a supporting team engage in emblematic bouts with immoral adversaries or dangerous enemies. Analytically speaking, a number of contemporary developments have converged to sort of augment or foster the rise of spectacle within the modern contemporary presidency in the United States of America. Though you could probably already guess the first one, the mass media. The mass media, which is another one of the president's 8 constituencies, which we talked about in the first episode of this series, the mass media have become the principal vehicle for presidential spectacle. Why? Well, focusing more of their coverage on presidents than any other person or institution in American life, the media keeps the occupant of the White House constantly before the public and give him, one day her, unparalleled, unmatched opportunities to display their leadership qualities. And again, since we're going through a campaign right now, we have seen this in the current presidential nomination campaign, where certain candidates, for some reason, receive the lion's share of the media attention, the lion's share of the TV coverage while campaigning or during the presidential debates. Think back to what you've seen of Donald Trump during the debates or in the news media. Ben Carson, we just talked about him earlier. Humble that he is, a wonderful, accomplished human being. Jeb Bush, Mrs. Clinton, who I've identified in the invisible primary as your eventual nominees, Clinton and Bush. Or how about Jim Webb? If you remember when they did the first and the only Democrat national debate that he was in, he complained that he didn't get but like 18 minutes to talk, and then he summarily dropped out after that, realizing it was a his goose was cooked. It was a rigged game. So of course, television in the modern era provides the view that is most amenable to spectacle. Why does it do that? Because it favors the dramatic aspects of the spectacle. But again, Lou, the mass media are not always reliable instruments for presidential spectacles. Why would that be the case? Well, reporters may document their stories or frame their stories in terms that undermine the meanings that the White House intended to convey to the spectators. Their desire, the reporters' desire for controversy, can feed off presidential spectacles, but it can also destroy them. That's probably more the case when you have a Republican in the White House, because those people in the media, I don't want to burst your bubble, but they have a huge liberal bias in the media, and they want any liberal that's in the White House to succeed, be highly successful, because that's what they want to occur.
No, really?
Yes. I think I heard JD say that once to Stacey, and she couldn't believe that he said that on the air. But it's true. And of course, if you got a Republican in the White House, they want to destroy them because they think that their ideas are basically counterintuitive to what they want to occur in the United States of America. They've been mind raped. Have a drink.
Drink.
The media can contribute to spectacular failures in the presidency, as well as being able to contribute to successful presidential spectacles. You know what, Lou? This is why Barack Hussein Obama has several people working for him on his staff who were prominent within the liberal mainstream media, or people on his staff have wives or husbands or girlfriends or boyfriends who are still actively working for those liberal mainstream media news sources. It's about total control over the message, Lou. Total manipulation. Total spin. You believe that?
Yes, absolutely, because even that wasn't enough. Being so connected to the news organizations through nepotism wasn't enough. They still micromanage and uber-manage the press pool.
I love it when you use those PhD words that I have to look up. Uber-manage, and what was the other one you used?
Uber-manage is like totally made up, but micromanage is a real word.
What was the other one? Nepotism. Okay, I'll have to look that word up.
Right.
I'll text.
Those aren't even $1 million words.
Stacey,
Give me a break.
fill me in.
Yeah, not even $1 million words. Give me a break.
Okay. I know a quarter. I'll just give you a quarter. Okay, so spectacles have also been fostered by our chief executives, or fostered by our chief executives' rise in the American political system to the pinnacle, their rise to primacy in the American governmental system. A political order or system that was originally, in the Founding Fathers' minds, originally centered on institutions, Lou, has given way, especially in the minds of the public, that Professor Jonathan Gruber said are stupid, and I want to agree with him on some of those people. We now have a political order in their mind that centers on the person of the president. Since the president has become, how should I put this, the embodiment of government, it seems perfectly normal for millions of Americans to concentrate their hopes and fears directly and personally on him. I'm quoting, "I won't have to worry about paying my mortgage anymore. I won't have to worry about putting gas in my car with Obama as president. If I help Obama, he's going to help me." Do you remember that?
Yes, absolutely.
I haven't gotten anything from have you gotten anything from Barack Obama? I haven't gotten anything from that guy.
I have
heartache and
bigger tax bills. Yeah, bigger tax bills, bigger insurance bills, more trouble at the doctor.
All right.
A fear of ISIS.
Caught me on that one. I haven't seen anything positive from Barack Obama.
Okay. Yeah. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love feisty, intelligent women. Do you know that?
Oh, do ya? You think that's why maybe you picked me as your producer?
I
don't know. Yeah, right. I picked you. I begged you.
We mentioned this earlier in the first part of this series. Of course, the people's expectations of the president and the presidency are both highly excessive and uber contradictory. How about that? Drink Uber. I use the word Uber. You must listen to Glenn Beck too much, that word Uber.
No,
I thought that was a cab company that they pick you up in their little little Volvo and they drive you to Disney World.
Yes, that they stole the word from the Germans. Though I've actually been using that word since high school, but people misuse it.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
All right. So going back, reiterate. Of course, the people's expectations of the presidency are both highly excessive and contradictory. The president's tangible results, such as economic prosperity, will almost never be enough to satisfy the entitlement mentality, the huge entitlement mentality that pervades American society and grows larger every single week. I used to propose this to my students at UCLA. I'd say this to them: where's my 3-bedroom townhouse? Where's my new BMW? Where's my larger welfare check? Where's my total health care? And of course, when I said, where's my townhouse and BMW, they looked at me like I was crazy. Do you know that in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina, which I got to be involved, was a fortune and privilege to be involved in the effort there, the government was doing almost anything for these people. They had one knucklehead that said to the government, I'm traumatized. I don't live in a safe space. I'm traumatized. I want season tickets to the Saints and the New Orleans Saints, the New Orleans Pelicans, to bring me back to being whole again. Do you know that your federal government, meaning your taxpayer dollars, bought this guy limited tickets, season tickets to both?
Well, you know that I worked. I worked on that operation as well, and spent.
You did
a lot
when
of
you worked for the blood bank?
No, I did not work for the blood bank. I did most of my work in disaster, actually, and I would never say anything, specific about what went on because of that, because it's all. Well, I was asked not to. So, but however, what you're saying was not only a situation where it set those people, it set up opportunities for opportunists to come in. And just like spring break in Panama City sets up opportunities for opportunists to come in. And, I saw a lot of really crazy stuff and things that people did, and some of them not even, from the area, but came back in after. And we see this with every disaster. People come in after the disaster to try to grab the opportunity of being part of the disaster, even when they're not, and have had to, different organizations, not just the one that I used to work for, have had to come up with ways to mitigate that kind of thing, to make sure that people actually were involved or were affected by a disaster that happened, because that's the kind of opportunism that exists in the world. The federal government is light years behind in that effort.
You see, you can say it. You always claim Dr. A is the purveyor of unprecedented honesty. So I'm going to tell the listening audience what you just said, but in Dr. A's words. Those people that come in after the fact are nothing but criminal parasites.
Right. I call them opportunists.
Yes.
Criminal parasites is another good word for them, yes. Yeah. See, but I still use my PC speech sometimes. Sorry. I know you hate that.
Political correctness is the primary tool of cultural Marxism, which
well,
we're going to get into in the next couple of weeks.
I'll give you a break to get over it.
Shows.
Yeah, I'll give you a break to get over it if you want.
All right, let's take a break.
Okay, and you can get over my PC-ness. And
all right.
We'll be right back.
K98Talk.com, a leader in internet radio. So grab your seatbelts and take the ride of your life on K98Talk.com.
This is JD.
And this is Stacy.
Join us Tuesday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern for Game On. Remember,
lock up the children and the old folks.
Game On, the home of liberty conservative.
Where no one is safe and no one is spared. Not even the hosts.
Oh, that was supposed to be a spin cycle. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. We love you anyway. Right round, baby.
Self-monitoring
right
Ebola radio strikes again.
Anyway.
Anybody see the host monkey? Where's the host monkey? Where's the host monkey? For God's sake, I need an antidote. Just do your rant. Let's pop out of the segment.
Has to do with
Find us on Twitter at JD and Stacy.
You're listening to K98Talk.com. The internet will never be the same. You're listening to K98Talk.com.
Whoa! Good God, y'all. What is it good for? Absolutely. Let's get sad again.
All right, we're back.
I'm excited to be back. Whenever we get to this part whenever I get to this part in my lesson plan when I talk to people about this, I'm reminded of a response given by John Fitzgerald Kennedy, President Kennedy, during one of his press conferences, when a female, sort of a feisty female reporter, asked him what his administration had done for women lately. And of course, always the intellectual humorist JFK said in response to this question, I'm not exactly sure what we have done, but I am sure that it's not enough. And that's exactly the entitlement mentality we're talking about. Lou, it's never enough for entitlement mentality members of our society. In other words, those mega liberals.
Right, yes. And it's the best example that I have is my bunny rabbit. Uh-huh. Every time he's in the kennel, they overfeed him. So he thinks that he's supposed to get twice as much food a day as he really should be getting, because they feed him constantly. They work in 3 shifts. And so he's mad at me for weeks every time he comes home because I put him back on his regular diet.
And that's much less than what he has been getting, I guess.
Well,
right?
Yeah, it's somewhat less. I don't know how much less. I don't know how much they feed him, but they obviously feed him too much because he comes back fat, and he comes back angry with me because I don't feed him as much as they do. But that's the key right there. He's angry with me because he doesn't get as much food as he gets there. Just an analogy.
Well, exactly. Now, not surprisingly, our chief executive often turns to gestures of the spectacle to satisfy this kind of audience. Some scholars have argued that the contemporary public views the modern president as the spectacular representation of a living human being, where every deed, every quality, every flaw is somehow regarded as fascinating or important. The American public may not learn the details of policy and the formulation of policy, which they don't. They don't have time to do that, the vast majority of them. But the American public knew that Gerald Ford bumped his head on helicopter door frames. The American public knew that Ronald Reagan liked to eat jelly beans. I think his favorite were jelly jelly beans. The American public knew that Bill Clinton liked to hang out with Hollywood celebrities. And I hope I don't shock you with this one, but he also liked to have sex with young girls.
Who, Bill Clinton?
Yeah, I don't want to shock you on that.
Oh, man, yeah. I think JFK did too.
Yeah, well, of course. The American public knew that George W. Enjoyed deer hunting. And they also know that Barack Hussein Obama likes to play golf or go bike riding on his little girl bike in Maui. In a spectacle, a president's character possesses intrinsic as well as symbolic value. In other words, it is to be appreciated and adored for its own sake. As such, the president's character must not only be appealing, but it also must be magnified by the spectacle. The spectacle makes the president appear to be tough, decisive, perceptive, courageous, prudent. What matters is that he is presented as having these qualities, not whether he actually does have these qualities. Now, here's the deal. Obama is often presented as a unifier. Obama is not a unifier. Obama is a divider. But many in the public, that 47% that Mitt Romney was talking about, don't know this because he is presented as a post-racial president. You agree with that? That he's not a unifier, he's a divider?
I've heard the term post-racial used over and over and over again, and specifically with regards to the fact that we've now had at least a part African American president. But no, yeah. He has. But I've also mostly heard it used in the context of race relations are worse now than they were 20 years ago.
Yeah, they are.
So we've backslid, I think, in a huge way. Some people think in a small way. Some people, it's the degrees differ. But I think pretty much everybody agrees. And if you look at the polls, they certainly, for the most part, agree. And it doesn't matter what race you are. It's pretty consistent across races that racial harmony has slid backwards over the past 8 years.
Barack Hussein Obama is directly responsible for New Black Panthers, Black Lives Matter, those movements, and for the proliferation of the Nation of Islam.
Do you think he encouraged it specifically, or you think just his presence and his rhetoric?
He has them in the White House.
Right.
They come visit him. They drink champagne with this guy.
So at least they're emboldened by that behavior.
They're emboldened, yeah. And then they make these statements. Louis Farrakhan makes these statements that if a white guy made them, they'd be under arrest immediately.
But why is he out walking around?
That's a monopoly get out of jail free card.
Hey, and I hate the whole hate speech thing. I don't think that. I think you have to actually really. To infringe on someone's First Amendment right is a huge deal. So they have to have said something, extremely hateful, but inciting people to kill other people, I think that is the one thing I can agree that you have crossed the line and your First Amendment right might not apply there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The president in this spectacle, that is the presidency nowadays, he must appear confident and masterful before the audience, before the spectators, whose very position as onlookers usually denies any possibility of mastery. And the most likely presidential qualities that are to be magnified by the White House staff during these spectacles will be those that contrast dramatically with the attributes that drew criticism in the previous chief executive administration. For example, Ronald Reagan, one of our favorite presidents, following a president perceived to be weak, of course that'd be Jimmy Carter, was featured in presidential spectacles that highlighted his manliness, his cowboy strength. Bush number 41, succeeding a president, Ronald Reagan, notorious for his disengagement from the workings of his own administration, he was featured in spectacles of hands-on government management. William Jefferson Clinton, supplanting a president who seemed disengaged, if you will, from the economic problems of ordinary Americans. That was Bush 41. He began his administration with spectacles of populist intimacy and pizza parties in the White House.
Yeah, I think maybe using Clinton and the word intimacy in the same sentence is
it's oxymoron there. Yeah. Yeah. George W., replacing President Bill Clinton, infamous for a lack, if I could dumb it down and use your PC words, a lack of personal discipline and staff disorder, George W. presented a corporate-style White House to the American public, the spectators, where meetings ran on time and proper business attire was required in the Oval Office, meaning a coat and a crisply tied necktie. Barack Obama, replacing a warmonger president, George W., worked to quickly disengage America from those pesky skirmishes in the Middle East. Lou, how did that work out for America?
It ain't working out real well.
No, ISIS and the Islamic Caliphate is now sweeping across the Middle East, committing mass murder everywhere, and in foreign countries like Paris, France,
and just
eventually headed to America.
And just to, let everybody, if there are any kids listening, when you point the finger at other people and blame anyone for everything that may or may not, be caused by you, and you refuse to take responsibility for anything that you've ever done, things always end up in a mess.
Right.
And that's for the lesson for you kids today.
Presidents are indeed the principal figures in the presidential spectacles, but they have help, the help of many aides and advisors. In other words, the star performer is surrounded by a team. Now, Office Hours with Dr. A is a team effort, and we are both the star performer, wench.
Wait, what was it I was supposed to be doing again?
Office Hours with Dr. A is a team effort, and we are both the star performer, wench.
Okay, I guess I'm supposed to be doing something then?
Yes, you are.
Okay.
You're supposed to be responding intellectually and feistily and pushing buttons and bells and whistles.
Okay, I'll see what I can do.
Members of the president's team can, through their supporting parts that they play, either enhance or detract from the spectacle's desired effect on the audience. For a president's team to enhance the spectacles, its members should project attractive qualities that resemble the featured attributes of the president or make up for his perceived deficiencies. A supporting team, a supporting cast, will diminish presidential spectacles if its members project qualities that underscore the president's weaknesses. As such, there are a number of ways that a team member can disrupt presidential spectacles. He or she can call too much attention to themselves, partially upstaging the chief executive. This was certainly true, you may remember this, of Secretary of State Alexander Haig in the White House. Haig stated, this was after the assassination attempt of President Reagan, Haig stated, "I am in charge here at the White House." Unfortunately, he must not have read the Constitution because he didn't understand the order of succession.
Yeah, that was kind of embarrassing.
Well,
yeah,
exactly.
He should have kind of just, and that goes to the, sometimes you just keep your mouth shut, don't say nothing.
Better to let people think you're a fool than open your mouth and remove all doubt.
Indeed.
Or a team member can give away too many important secrets to the audience. That happened in the Reagan administration. They had a budget director named David Stockman who was giving away all these secrets to the media, and that's one thing you don't want to do. Mm-hmm. Worst of all, a member of the team, perhaps inadvertently, can discredit the central meanings that a presidential spectacle was designated to establish. During the Carter administration, they were supposed to be this lofty moral tone. You had this guy named Burt Lance who had, it was uncovered, he was a budget director, had these questionable banking practices. But of course, we've got a lot of people in Congress that have questionable banking practices. Can you believe that a member of Congress bounces checks?
Well, I can't believe that when you compare what Burt Lance did to, it goes on, everybody does it now, it goes on everywhere, and I think that says a lot about how far we've come since, that was 1974.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Remember, the audience watching a presidential spectacle is often as impressed with the gestures as it is impressed by the actual results. That being the case, a show of force by the president is preferable to the death and destruction that are the results of actual use of force. But there's got to be some bite behind it. You can't say to the guy that leads the country there in Syria, here's the red line. You cannot cross this red line, dude. And then he crosses it, and then Barack Hussein Obama does nothing. They just move the goalpost. Well, the red line's now changed.
And this is the way that
you have no credibility.
Right. This is the way that I learned it in school, which saber rattling does you absolutely no good unless the person you're waving it at knows you're going to use it.
Exactly. You carry a big stick and you got to be able to use it.
Yeah, exactly.
A better example might be the ways in which the invasion of Grenada back in '83, I think it was, and the seizing of Panamanian dictator Manuel Noriega back in '89 were portrayed to the American public, suggested an eagerness on the part of the White House to present the imagery of military toughness, but not the casualties from actual military conflict, even if those casualties were enemy casualties. Now, gestures overshadow results in a presidential spectacle, but they don't overshadow facts. They don't obliterate facts. You got to still have facts. Facts remain present. They are needed, in a sense, to nurture the gestures. Without real events, presidential spectacles would not be impressive. They would seem contrived. Global warming is not a real event. When President Obama says it's the greatest threat to mankind, he's got no teeth in that statement because it's a joke, complete falsehood, and yet he keeps pushing this because it's about power, Lou, and control of human beings.
Right, and because they can.
A successful spectacle, such as Reagan's liberation of Grenada, must be more powerful than any set of facts that it draws upon. The spectacle must transfigure those more compliant facts and make them carriers of the more spectacular gestures. That's a good way to identify the term spin. Presidential spectacles, Lou, are seldom spectacles in the sense that a wrestling match can be a pure spectacle. Although they may indeed involve a great amount of advanced planning and careful calculation of those gestures, a presidential spectacle cannot be completely scripted in advance. In my notes here, I wrote down, this is where you begin to handle Dr. A on the show. When I get a little bit too excited, you start handling me.
Oh, did you know in advance you were going to get a little bit too excited?
I figured you'd just give me my head and let me run like a horse.
I know. I will say let's take a little bit of a break here and let you rest your voice a little bit, and then maybe I'll ask you a question when we come back if I remember what it was, because I had one. We'll be right back.
K98 Talk is expanding its lineup for 2015. This means we are expanding our advertising base. Whether you're a startup trying to push through to the next level or an established business trying to supplement your advertising budget, web-based advertising is a solid investment. Thanks to Talk's newest partnership with TuneIn Radio and instant access to our sister station, K98 FM, we give you worldwide access at a reasonable cost. Interested parties should email us at sales@k98fm.com.
Wondering why you're up early with us on a Sunday morning making a cocktail? News lately got you drinking? Hungover from the mainstream media by Sunday? We are, and we got you covered.
We sure do. We got your hangover cure for those weekly news blues. So sit back, top off your mimosa, and add some Baileys to that coffee.
Take a match to your copy of the New York Times. Light, funny, and oh yeah, news with booze.
And a lot of laughter.
Welcome to Bloody Marys and Broadsheets.
Abolish the IRS. Take all 125,000 IRS agents and put them on our southern border.
That's us. That's right. Gotta love this American ride. Both ends of the ozone burning. Funny how the world keeps turning. Look, Mom, no hands. I love this American ride. Gotta love this American ride.
All right, you're back, Doc. I don't have a question. You just keep going.
I like that show, JD and Stacey. What's it called? Bloody Marys and Older Broads?
Dr. A.
Oh, I'll have to listen closer next time.
You have 18 minutes to finish up here.
All right. I can talk for 18 minutes plus more than that. Unexpected events will occur, Lou. Unpredictable events will occur in a presidential spectacle. If the White House is skillful, or if the White House is fortunate, it can capitalize on some of these unexpected events by using them to augment the presidential spectacle. However, if the White House is unlucky or not so talented, such events can detract or undermine the spectacle. Also, unlike other pure spectacles, the presidential variety often has more than one audience. To reiterate, its primary purpose is to construct meanings for the American spectators, the American public. But it also can direct messages to those whom the White House has identified as its enemies or the sources of its problems. Going back to the Reagan administration back in 1981, when Reagan fired the air traffic controllers because they engaged in an illegal strike, Cowboy Ronnie presented to the American public the spectacle of a tough, determined chief executive who would uphold the law and, unlike his predecessor, would not be pushed around. This spectacle also conveyed to the labor unions that the White House would make things very difficult for a labor movement that became too assertive. Now, let's look at some spectacles from other presidents. Bush 41. I think the first war in Iraq was a huge spectacle. I think he made a mistake at that particular time, not going in and relieving Saddam Hussein of his maybe not necessarily his life, but relieving him of his duties as the recognized despot in Iraq. He said his charter from the UN was only to go so far, and that's what he did. I think he made a big mistake, and it sort of set the stage for what happened afterwards.
I think he stopped when the spectacle was done. I'll agree. I will definitely agree to that. I mean, it was a very well thought operation and well planned and a great operation for quite a few days there. But once the spectacle was over, they were out.
After that spectacle in the first war in Iraq, George Bush, Herbert Walker Bush, number 41, had the highest public approval rating in the history of the United States. 87% approval rating. Do you know that?
Yeah, it fell fast, though.
Yes. You know why it fell fast? Here's the other example of a spectacle that brought him down. Read my lips. No new taxes. And then he couldn't follow through on that.
Well, and that's a really good example of if you say something like that, you make that big a deal out of it, you better follow through with it.
He didn't do it. How about Clinton, one of your favorite presidents, taking credit for a balanced budget when it was actually Newt Gingrich's Congress that accomplished that feat?
You just named one of my favorite issues. My head explodes every time he takes credit for that. I absolutely hate it. I watched it happen. I know it's not true.
The left still thinks Clinton balanced the budget.
Right, and it's not the only thing that they did that he takes credit for. He takes credit.
It was despite
welfare
him
to work.
that they balanced the budget.
Yeah.
How about this one? How about this example of a wag the dog situation? He bombed an aspirin factory in the middle of the night.
Yeah, exactly, and called it Al Qaeda.
Yeah, nobody got hurt. Bombed an aspirin factory.
Mm-hmm.
You can't wage war in a politically correct fashion. We've talked about that a lot. George W. standing on a pile of rubble, still smoldering, down in Manhattan.
I think that is a
fire chief.
I think
the people who did this will hear you too on a megaphone.
Yes, and that's a great example of what I believe is a sincere spectacle. And they tell the story of how it just kind of evolved. It just kind of happened, just kind of jumped out there. But I don't think for a second that he didn't at least a little bit know what he was doing. But I think he did it for, I would believe more than not that he probably did that for sincere reasons.
He did because it was staged. It was staged.
Yeah, it was at least staged enough. They try to tell the story like it wasn't that staged, but or it was last minute staged at least. But at least there was a little sincerity there, I think.
Well, I agree. How about this one? I flew this submarine attack jet in the Navy. It's called an S-3B Viking. I flew that in the Navy as well. Huh. He landed that on board an aircraft carrier to a big sign that said "Mission Accomplished."
That was stupid.
Well, the mission was accomplished, but they didn't identify the mission. And it was used against him big time by the left.
A mission was accomplished.
A mission was accomplished.
A mission was accomplished, but when you have that many troops still deployed, you don't say mission accomplished.
Exactly. How about
Too
Obama?
many families.
Barack Hussein Obama, Stacey's favorite president. General Motors is alive, and Osama bin Laden is dead. That's the great spectacle. The people the 47%, ate that up. The 47% that don't pay taxes and will never vote for a Republican ate that up. Mitt Romney was right when he said that.
Well, yeah, you know he got in trouble for it. You're going to get in trouble for it, too.
It's absolutely true. Speak the truth. I'll endure the consequences, Lou. It's true.
Yeah, well, I mean, but it's... Okay, and this is not in anyone's defense, and it's not to say it's right, but if you were one of those 47%, would you vote for somebody that's going to take away your stuff?
You need to read the Chicago Way, my latest article. The Republicans and the Democrats nowadays have coalesced. There's one political party in the White House. It's a big wrestling match inside the Beltway. They're all Beltway bandits. 1 week, I get to be the good guy. Next week, you get to be the good guy. It's all preordained. It's a big wrestling match, Lou.
But the people don't believe it. The people...
They better start believing it.
Right, but they don't. They're more partisan now. And you don't want me to get into this.
How about this just happened today in Paris for a spectacle by Barack Obama? Global warming is the greatest threat to mankind's survival. Oh my gosh. Couldn't be further from the truth. And we can talk about this later on your show when we talk about how to actually win the war against Islam or the countries that put forth the radical version of Islam, if you want to put it that way. We'll talk about that. But here's the conclusion to presidential spectacle. It's really tempting to blame the growth of the presidential spectacle on individual chief executives or their calculating advisors or compliant members of the news media. It's more accurate to attribute the growth of spectacle to larger, what I call structural forces. The extreme personalization of the modern presidency is one. The excessive expectations, which we discussed already in this series, of the president that most of us Americans have. He can do anything, but he can't. And then the voluminous media coverage that fixates on the president and treats American politics as sort of a report on the president's adventures. Ted's excellent adventures, Obama's excellent adventures, whatever. Indeed, presidential spectacles can be linked to a culture of consumption, which is what we have right now, in which spectacle is the predominant form that relates the few to the many. That being the case, spectacle is more of a structural feature of the contemporary presidency than it is a strategy of deception adopted by particular occupants of the White House. In campaigning for the presidency, which is going on right now, then in carrying out its tasks, any chief executive is likely to turn to spectacle. Donald Trump has been doing that with great success. And we mentioned a couple of those spectacles that he's been showing off. Spectacle, Lou, I'm going to just pause this for you. Spectacle has become institutionalized as specialists in the White House routinely devise performances for a vast press corps that is eager to report every colorful detail. Madam Secretary, Mrs. Clinton, there's a show called Madam Secretary about her adventures. She just hired a famous producer and director to make her more attractive and her spectacles more receivable and colorful to the spectators. You know who she hired?
No.
The guy that created Jaws and.
Okay, I'm not big in entertainment, but okay.
Harrison Ford, all those different movies that he was the famous guy. I can't remember. I go to movies all the time. I can't think of the guy's name.
The thing is, it's funny because you're a SAG member, you're a stunt pilot, all that stuff. Yeah. You care about that stuff way more than I do.
Well,
I could care less about Hollywood. Sorry, Doc. The only thing I like about Hollywood is Friends of Abe.
I like that too. Yeah. Spectacle is expected by the public as the most visible manifestation of presidential leadership. A president who deliberately shuns the possibilities of a spectacle would probably encounter the same kind of difficulties as a president who tried to lead by spectacle but experienced spectacular failure. Still, the rise of spectacle in the presidency remains sort of a disturbing development. It is actually harmful to presidents because it promotes gesture over accomplishment. It promotes appearance over fact. It is even more harmful to us as spectators in the American viewing audience, the public, the electorate, because it disguises presidential activity. It weakens executive accountability, and it encourages passivity by the citizens. Steven Spielberg, that's who she hired.
I was really hoping that wasn't who you were talking about.
Excitable and acceptable to the American public, the liar that she is, the untrustworthy individual that she is. In the final analysis, Lou, the presentation of presidential leadership as a spectacle has little in common with the kind of strong leadership that American democratic values imply. So it can be a harmful thing. Do you know how much time we got left? I want to talk about something here.
We got a few minutes.
Okay. Do you know, I've been told by my sources, and this might excite JD when he hears this, Mayor Bloomberg, the communist mayor there in New York City, is going to run for president in 2020. Do you know that?
Lovely. As a what? Democrat, Republican, Independent. He's been all three. He was all three as mayor, right?
Democrats are communists, socialists, whatever. That's the same thing. Progressive. They're all the same thing.
Right, but that doesn't mean that's what he's running as. Because he was a Republican mayor, he was an Independent mayor, and then he was a Democrat mayor.
He'll run on the lefties. Okay. He's a lefty.
All right, just asking.
Okay. He just did something that I think is, and JD will love this, that I think is going to really save a lot of lives there in New York, in Dr. Ray's humble opinion. He just forced New York restaurants to divulge whether or not their food contains salt.
Yeah, and I told you that the next quadrennial defense review will name our top 3 threats as climate change, sugar, and salt. Forget terrorism, forget Russia, forget North Korea, forget China. Those are our top 3 threats.
The 80s are calling for their foreign policy back.
Well, somebody needs it. Somebody needs it.
Wow, the people are saying, what a grand spectacle on the part of Mayor Bloomberg to make sure that people know a salt shaker has been used to create their food. I put salt on my scrambled eggs in the morning. I put sugar in my coffee. I mean, and I'm still here. Wow.
Last time I checked, nobody has ever been poisoned by sugar, unless, of course, they were diabetic for some reason. But now that the more artificial sweeteners we have in our lives, new artificial sugars they create, the worse the diabetic problem gets, but it's because we eat more sugar. How is that possible when nothing really has real sugar in it at all? It's
Lou, you said earlier that I'm going to be in trouble for speaking the truth. Truth is a microaggression to people that deal in fraud and lies and deception. Yeah. But again, I mentioned this last week. This generation has been given a great gift by God himself. It is the opportunity for us to defend freedom, to defend liberty, to defend Christianity in its hour of greatest peril. And we really need to do that. I can think of no greater or more potent recruitment tool for ISIS. They always say that if we fight them, that'll be a bigger recruiting tool. I can think of no more potent recruitment tool for ISIS and all of radical Islam than having Barack Hussein Obama sitting in the White House, or having him ride a girly bike in Hawaii, or traipse around a golf course wearing his cute little shorts, or giving his idiotic America-bashing teleprompter speeches, which he just did today. You know what? God bless the United States of America. God help us, protect liberty and speak the truth, endure the consequences, people. That should be your mantra. Dr. A, in my close proximity, you will not be in a safe space. I guarantee it. But I'm going to speak the truth and then endure the consequences.
And that's one of my favorite things about you, Dr. Arrington. And thanks everybody for listening today. God bless America. We are on K98 Talk at noon on Sundays. We're on WNJC in New Jersey and Philadelphia on Tuesdays at 5 p.m. And you can catch me on For Who the Bell Tolls and Dr. A this week as well at 8 p.m. Thursday nights on K98 Talk. Have a great week, everyone. Say goodbye, Dr. A.
Goodbye, everybody. Have a great week.
See you next week.
Wake up, Maggie, I think I got something to say to you. It's late September and I really should be back at school. I know I keep you amused.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. And then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-513-6154. That's 1-800-513-6154. Again, 1-800-513-6154. Call now.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.